WBTW.com. Sidney Moorer, the man accused of kidnapping Heather Elvis, is still waiting to see whether or not his retrial will happen in a Conway courtroom. News 13's Taylor Herlong joins us now. And Taylor, what would it take to move the retrial?
Nicole, just over a month ago, we told you Judge Markley Dennis said he was concerned about the fairness of the trial after the community here had already seen the evidence in this case. But criminal defense attorneys tell me moving the trial is a complicated process.
But the snag with this case was the pregnancy.
It's been more than 2 months since we heard testimony from both sides as to whether or not Sidney Moorer kidnapped Heather Elvis.
In this case, the publicity was so strong, I was surprised they even sat a jury in the first place.
With the press covering every testimony, the fairness of the trial has been called into question.
The jurors said that they could be fair and impartial. They didn't know anything, but I think every person in the county, I think even every squirrel in the county knew what was going on in this case.
Criminal defense attorney Stuart Axelrod says now the jurors have heard both sides. It's impossible for Moorer to have a fair trial in Horry County.
A mistrial is a very unfortunate thing.
Back in July, Judge Markley Dennis said he had concerns over that as well and would consider changing the venue.
Most times, if you change the venue or you pick a jury for somewhere else, you'll actually bring them here and you'll house them for the trial, so everybody that's involved in the trial doesn't have to travel as far, except the 12 or 14 jurors.
Axelrod says they'd also look at the impact on the victim's family, which in this case would be better for the Elvis family to stay here.
Most times on a retrial, the judge will keep the case, he'll keep jurisdiction on the case because he knows the case already. They won't have to bring another judge up to speed. It would simplify the matters that Judge Dennis do this trial.
In the last trial, we heard the state's expert witness give this testimony.
And you've testified that, based on your experience, that no two vehicles anywhere have the same headlight spread pattern.
That's my experience.
Axelrod says hearing that before the retrial gives an advantage to Sidney.
I think Mr. Truslow realized that he needed to have an expert. And I think they're going to, my guess would be, and I do not know, my opinion would be that he will get an expert to rebut the state's expert saying that those were Sidney's headlights, because I thought that was questionable.
Axelrod says before a retrial happens, a court reporter must first complete a transcript from the last trial. Both the state and the defense would then get 90 days to review it. He says best case scenario, we'd have the retrial before the end of the year. Reporting for News 13, I'm Taylor Herlong.